One of the biggest questions that I get asked is, how do I communicate with God, Source, the All? Because maybe you can't have a conversation like, hey, how you doing today? Oh, I'm doing really great. How are you today? Well, I'm kind of worried about this thing. Okay, well, let's talk about that thing. Why are you worried about it? Right? So, but for now, the question is, how do I communicate with that thing that is the thing that knows what I don't know? Okay, so first thing I want you guys to recognize or remember or purpose to believe is everything is feedback. Everything is feedback based on what my patterns have communicated to the outside world to tell me what it is that I believe in my subconscious, right? So if we remember that our subconscious is sub, that means I'm not aware of it, except for when it becomes in my conscious awareness, which is what's going on around me, right? So when we see everything is feedback. So if I'm looking at not enough money in my bank account and I go, okay, well, the feedback is I don't have enough money. How do I fix it? Well, the first fix is recognizing that this isn't, I'm going to use a word, hear me, go with it, real. Okay? The lack of money isn't real. And when I say real, what I mean is if you told somebody else that you had this much money, you could tell, well, let me do it this way. You could tell 100 people that you had this much money, whatever not enough money is to you in the bank. And some of them will tell you, oh my gosh, you have that much money in the bank? And some of them will say, oh my gosh, I can't even blow my nose with that amount of money, right? Because everybody's enough money is completely different, which is why, spoiler alert, having enough is all perspective. It's not real. So going back to, I'm looking at this and I think it's not enough money. Okay, cool. So what's the feedback? Well, somewhere, if I'm using the word not enough, then I'm comparing this to something. So the feedback to me is, well, I have to understand what I'm comparing this to. And the goal of the feedback, the process, the comparing is, how do I get in alignment? How do I go from this feeling yucky, not enough, to this being okay? And that really is the indicator of the communication between us and the source. Okay, so recognizing that if I'm in alignment and I'm hearing source or God well, it means that I'm feeling the alignment with the message that I'm getting. So if I'm looking at this and it's not enough, well, not enough for what? To buy a jet? Probably true. To go grocery shopping? Maybe not for a family of 10. To buy a meal? Possibly. Right? So recognizing that the feedback is for us to start to process, what do I believe about these things? Because the ultimate communication between us and God really is, how do I better my life? How do I have more of the experiences that I want? How do I pursue a life where I'm fulfilled and feel abundant, right? And so it starts by being able to know, what am I feeling? Does it feel yummy or yucky? And really, that's all there is, you guys, because sadness and grief and guilt are the emotions that indicate what I believe. Okay? Really, when we talk about feeling in order to communicate, it's really yummy or yucky. That's it. So let's rewind just a little bit and really talk about, how are we told to communicate with God, right? It was all about, okay, God, this is what I want. This is how I want you to answer my prayers. Or we've been communicated, just tell the universe what you want and it'll show up. And the problem is that that's one-sided, right? If I only ever did all of the talking with my husband, and he might say I actually really do, but I don't. Sometimes I let him talk. Anyway, If I only talked and I never ever listened to anything that he got back, that wouldn't actually be communication. It wouldn't actually be a relationship. It wouldn't actually be, how do I know something that I didn't know before, right? So a lot of our, the way we've been taught to communicate with God or the source is through us talking. When in reality, if we come back to everything as feedback, well, everything is that universe or God talking back to us, right? If I say, okay, God, I just want to know that you're there, show me a butterfly. And a butterfly flies by, a lot of times we'll go, oh, well, that was just a coincidence. Instead of going, okay, that's exactly what I asked for, and that is God communicating back to me. So it's not just getting the feedback or seeing what's going on around you, but it's really acknowledging that this is a form of communication back to you, because maybe you can't have a conversation like, hey, how you doing today? Oh, I'm doing really great. How are you today? Well, I'm kind of worried about this thing. Okay, well, let's talk about that thing. Why are you worried about it? Right? If I don't think I can have that kind of communication, then I need to utilize these signs, these things that are in front of me. So recognizing that in itself is communication. Okay, and so then when we recognize, okay, well, how do I purpose to have those things, those communications? And it really is something like, okay, I'm not really sure if you're out there. Can you show me a butterfly? Or can you have a yellow car drive by me? Sometimes we think that's childish and foolish, but guess what? If we're just learning to understand this feedback, understand these messages and these communicating back and forth with the universe or God or source, well, then we are children. That's where we need to start. And wherever you are in your process is exactly where you're supposed to be. It's exactly perfect, because I can't ever get to a point where I have dialogue if I don't start there, provided that I don't have the dialogue, right? Because some people maybe just start out with this dialogue, but they can't read the communication in the feedback, right? It's all in where you're at in your process and what you need. But I want to allow you to have different options of how to understand all of that. And so here's this feedback, how am I receiving it? Or there's, gosh, I have this knowing that I'm not supposed to go to the grocery store yet. If you were on your way to the grocery store, I'm not supposed to go yet. Or I feel like I was supposed to go out of town, but I don't think I'm supposed to go out of town anymore. Or, sorry, I misspoke. I want to go out of town, but I feel like I shouldn't. Those are those things that wherever you're at in your communication, they're all some aspect of you learning how to communicate with what you don't know yet, right? Whether it be what's best for you, or a choice you need to make, or just how to do life in general. And again, I'm always going to send you guys to another video, because there's always this depth of information that if you don't understand this, then this doesn't make quite as much sense. So go look for the video that explains that God, source, the all, universe, how they're the same, how they're different, that they're all the same, that they're all different, and all of that.